Welcome everyone, this is Silver casting a diamond level match. Now I am playing in this game, and I don't prefer to cast my own games, but the reason I decided to upload this replay is because it showcases a very good opening build for a Protoss player versus a Zerg who is expanding, because I feel like quite a lot of players are uncomfortable with letting the Zerg macro up on 2 and 3 bases, because then they're just going to roll over you later. So what I try here is a 3-gate warp gate timing attack when he really doesn't have anything at all, following it with an expansion. So it's not a complete all-in because my expansion does start to build, but you'll see how it works out in the end. I won't spoil everything. So right now my probe is going to be taking the long way around. Now introducing our Zerg player, it is RestoRation with 2 capital R's. Pretty alliterated name right there, and my name's just Silver. Yeah, that's my name. So my probe is taking the extremely long way around, as well as his overlord is taking the extremely long way around. So not a lot of scouting is going to be happening now. Now for my build, it requires me to build my gateway at 13, which I'm timing this almost perfectly with my probe getting down there. So I drop the gateway, and then I need to get some gas at 14, which I do believe I do, and then go straight for a warp gate upgrade. So you're going to see that unfold here, and actually nothing much happens in the first 6 minutes of this game pretty much. So basically I decided to do this because a lot of times when you're going against a Zerg player as a Protoss, you're going to want to expand early. However, that's going to give the Zerg an opportunity to take another expansion ahead of you. So you're always going to be behind in resources no matter what you do, unless you pull off some really nice harassment. And approaching like the 12-15 minute mark, the Zerg is going to be maxed out on Hydralis or Mutas or combinations of whatever they can. And since they're working on 3 bases and probably 4 or 5 at that point, they can actually just roll over you with constant remaxing. Zerg's cheap units are very effective in the late game when they can send wave after wave and whittle down your defenses. And it's sometimes hard for a Protoss player to keep up in that macrogram and to keep his army intact long enough to reach the late game stage. So this is something that's worked out actually a couple times for me. I am now approaching, I believe I'm rank 6 now in Diamond, so that's getting up there. No pro yet, but maybe Master someday. And so my probe eventually gets there to scout. It scouts the expansion, which is pretty much the only thing I wanted to figure out. I probably should have gone in here and scouted for a roach warren, because roaches would completely ruin my day here. But I do see expansion. It's not being built yet. It's not finishing yet, so I do move my probe over here. Now that was actually a bad move for me, because considering the Overlord just did spot that, I believe. Yes, it must have spotted it. It had to. So if he had picked that up, he would have noticed where I placed my proxy pylon right about now. So as you can see, in the meantime, I have placed my core and I'm dropping another gateway, and I'm building a stalker. So I'm focusing all my chrono boost on that warp gate research, but I'm also trying to time it so that this will finish when all my warp gates are done, as I'm dropping one more. And I do believe that I build a mothership core right here, because the air attack at this stage in the game for the Zerg, considering queens are the only things that can attack it. Yep, there it is. The mothership core is pretty invaluable with just that constant DPS, and of course the time warp does prove valuable in order to prevent Zergling surrounds. And his overlord is just about getting here. I don't believe it does much except scout the gates, but just slightly too late, as this warp gate research is almost done and this gateway is almost done, so I will be moving out shortly after is. I'm starting to float a little minerals, but that is okay. You know, this unfortunately I supply block myself here because I can't move out. Now that Zergling did get a good scout off. Actually, you know, he missed the pylon, but unfortunately I'm running my units right at the same time. So the Zerglings do happen to see things. The mothership core takes nope, doesn't take a hit at it. But the Zergling starts to aggro my zealot, and then he realizes that there is an attack underway. He thankfully has already built one spine that might buy him some time, but that was just really late scouting. He doesn't actually make it over to see the 3 gateways. Nope. So I think he figures an attack's coming because he has seen a zealot across the field. But as you can see, he has not started building that many Zerglings. That is going to prove pretty fatal here. Now, once again, I unfortunately didn't warp in all these warp gates at the same time. It's going to slow me down just a bit. But as you can see, I do have enough minerals to warp in a reinforcement line right now of stalkers, and then follow it up with an expo. So that was kind of the whole goal of my build here, was to get an early warp gate research and get an army at his door as here the attack commenced. Fortunately, the spine is burrowing, and he's not. I'm going to be able to focus that down right away. There's only 2 zerglings here, and they are going to fall to this army. Now the queens are trying to micro out, but I drop a time warp to prevent their escape. These queens have essentially no chance to retreat, which is why I essentially stopped microing them, and this spine will fall. And so I have essentially eliminated all of these units right now, and I have a pretty sizable army at his base. Now he does have a really strong economy, and he does have larva to back it up, so he can still build a lot of units, but it's just going to require me having to keep warping in more and reinforcements, so I decided to do stalkers. Now my expansion is finishing this, so even if I lose here, I can mass recall out with the mothership core, or just I have an economy going when I'm doing substantial damage to him. I'm forcing him to build more queens, to lose all these units, to lose more and more larvae to lings. But unfortunately, I don't realize that stalkers are not the best choice versus zerglings, considering they kind of just get teared apart, while these 2 zealots are proving much more effective. So at this point, I just start warping exclusively zealots, I believe, and just remaining on the remainder stalkers. Now zerglings are piling up. He's up to 9 at least, and I do believe he gets some more out before the game's complete. But as you can see, this attack, when not scouted, kind of just wrecked his stuff here. He has completely unprepared for it. There was nothing he can do. But even so, if he had built the early Rotor, and if he had built a couple more spines, I am working off of 4 gates, and my natural is already complete. So if I can do a little bit of damage here and then pull out with the mothership core, then that would have paid off as well. So I just believe this is the game. He has nothing. There's really nothing he can do. He tries to try to get a good surround here, but I do micro behind the mineral patches. Unfortunately, my zealots aren't in range to attack yet, but this zergling army won't do anything to these forces. So this build is not a guarantee. As you can see, he's doing a decent job of fending it off with just zerglings, but with proper micro, and I am god awful at micro, you could make this work pretty much every time. But if he scouts it, you might be in a little more trouble because of probably roaches will be down, as well as spine crawlers. So you just have to, this is just an option if you want to shut down the macro power of the zerg. Now the time warp helps me out here while my zealots are not surrounded by them. And the queen goes down, and that's pretty much it. He has no units. He does have a large bank, but he doesn't have any larvae. So it's kind of, that's just it. Yep, he GG's out. So I hope you all learned something. Once again, my name is Silver. I don't usually cast myself, so I hope everyone learned something from this opener. As a Protoss player, it's always good to keep learning. And I feel like zergs are our rivals. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I personally don't like zerg. They're ugly, and Protoss should eradicate them. So there you have it. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Silver, and you guys go out there and get your game on.